Land protection is an important part of managing rotational outdoor piggeries for good environmental outcomes. So there's 5 points we're going to look at that relate to maximising land protection. The first is maximising ground cover before you bring pigs onto the paddock. The second is maintaining that ground cover as long as possible during the pig phase. The third is controlling runoff when ground cover has been reduced. The fourth is rehabilitating your wallows, and the fifth is establishing ground cover afterwards as quickly as possible. So the first step is maximising ground cover before you move pigs onto the paddock. So pigs have been in this particular paddock for around about 7 weeks, and we can see that ground cover is still reasonably high. It's a mixture of standing green and dead material, but the main aim we have here is to minimise soil erosion risk. So this is pretty good. It's running at about 90% ground cover after the first couple of months of the pig phase. So point 2 is maintaining ground cover for as long as possible during the pig phase. You can reduce impacts on highly trafficked areas by moving shelters and feeders around in the paddock, and keeping stocking rates to a practical minimum will maximise ground cover for as long as possible, and sometimes adding straw can assist that process as well. So number 3 is having appropriate control measures in place. Where ground cover can't be maintained during part of the pig phase, having appropriate control measures needs to be in place to minimise erosion and manage nutrient loss risks. Now this can be through having contour banks, filter strips or terminal ponds, and it's particularly necessary where you have sloping blocks or where ground cover is low and difficult to maintain and during high rainfall seasons. But maintaining vegetative filter strips in all areas where water moves on the farm will do a couple of things. It will hold back sediments if any comes off caused by erosion, and it'll also absorb nutrient. Now the ideal grass for your veg filter strip areas are these kind of runner forming grasses, and they'll do the best job of minimising erosion and maximising sediment control. Now the fourth step is rehabilitating wallows after the end of the pig phase. Now wallows are essential for animal welfare reasons, but at the end of the pig phase they're going to need to be backfilled. Any compaction needs to be managed by deep ripping, and it can often be handy to apply gypsum to improve that soil structure before you go into the cropping or the pasture phase. Wallows need to be provided except where this poses significant environmental risk due to unsuitable soil types or shallow groundwaters. And wallows need to have a reasonable clay level to reduce nutrient leaching, particularly for sites on lighter soils. And clay may even need to be imported on some of those sites to line wallows, and as an alternative to this you can use a spray or a drip cooling system. Number 5 is establishing ground cover afterwards. Pasture or crops need to be established as soon as practical after the completion of the pig phase to utilise nutrients. Ideal crops are those with high nutrient uptake and removal. A forage crop or cut for hay or silage is ideal, or a grain crop with baling of the straw. The aim is to maximise nutrient uptake and maximise ground cover to reduce risk of nutrient loss. So in summary, there's 5 steps to effective land protection. The first is maximising ground cover before pigs are brought onto the paddock. The second is maintaining that ground cover for as long as possible during the pig phase. The third is having appropriate protection measures when ground cover is diminished. The fourth is rehabilitating paddocks and especially areas such as wallows after the pig phase. And the fifth is maximising ground cover and nutrient removal during the crop phase after pigs have been removed.